It is currently chucking it down outside, so therefore I don't think it's going to be possible today to install any more flashing tape and add the remaining 1, 2, 3 skylights, which in hindsight I'm kind of wishing that I put less windows in, because that would not only be less money, but I'd also have to do less work. So note to self, the more windows that you design in your tiny house equals more work that you're going to have to do. But at the same time, I really do think it is going to be worth it. Now you might be able to hear in the background that there is an excavator going. That is because I'm currently sat in my car filming the voiceover before I drive to the tiny house project this afternoon. And the plan for today is to just make the entire tiny house watertight. I don't know why it took me so long to do this. And for the people who are saying, Chris, just buy some membrane and cover the windows and it will stop all the water coming in, you are 100% right. I should have done that a long time ago. So this morning I bought some clear plastic, but unfortunately they didn't have heavy duty plastic in stock. So I just got this really crap, thin, see-through membrane that I can almost guarantee when there is a storm, the wind will completely wreck this. So what I'm thinking of doing is putting like 2-3 layers on top of the windows just to kind of give a little bit more strength. I then also bought some T-hinges. Now if you don't know what a T-hinge is, it's basically the typical sort of hinge that you would put on a shed door. And my thought behind doing this is that this afternoon I'm going to make a temporary door for the tiny house, not only to keep the wind and the rain out of the tiny house, but also for 2 other reasons. Now the first reason is I am not going to buy a glass front door until the entire tiny house is done, because I know myself, and when you're moving materials around, in my opinion, you always put the front door on last, because that will get so damaged during the process of renovating or building a new build. I always put that on last because, for example, the London project, that front door was in pretty decent condition, as was the staircase. But after you've moved around a million sheets of OSB board, plywood, once you've moved all the rubble bags, all of the rubbish that you create during a renovation, you just are going to inevitably hit into the door and the staircase. So often what a lot of people do is they protect the staircase and the inside part of the door, because if you don't, you're going to have to spend hours and hours filling and sanding and painting. And I always think, oh, I can't be bothered to do that. It's going to take me 10 minutes to protect, say, the staircase. But in actual fact, if I had just put that extra bit of time in, it would have saved me 3-4 hours in the long run of filling and sanding and repairing all of the damaged areas. So that is why I'm going to create today a temporary front door. And the second reason for it is I need to create a little bit more of the frame of where this glass front door is going to go in order to install the skylight that is going to be going next to it. The reason why is because the flashing is going to have to go over part of that area. And as it stands, there is nowhere for that flashing to sit on, because I've just left an opening of where the front door is going. And I am also in 2 minds with this front door. I can either go for a standard Travis Perkins glass front door, which are extremely cheap, or I can spend a little bit more money and get a pivoting front door, but they cost quite a lot. Now, I do feel like I need to just stress this to you. This is a temporary front door, meaning that this is the biggest bodge job you will ever see. So really do not take this as like a how to make a front door. It is absolute crap what I make, but it will do exactly the job I want it to. So I found 2 pieces of full length plywood that were offcuts from when I was making the warm deck roof. Now, why am I using 2 pieces instead of 1? Well, I don't really want to waste a full board that costs a lot of money on something that's going to be as crap as this front door that will eventually just get chucked on a bonfire. So what would be an already pretty crap front door is now going to become even more crap because I'm using 2 pieces of timber, and therefore I need to connect the 2. Now, in order to do so, you need to use braces to obviously connect the 2 pieces. And the important thing to remember is to use screws that are the correct length. Now, what I mean by that is the screw can't be any longer than the 2 pieces of plywood combined, otherwise it will poke through the other side. And as you're about to see later, the impact driver actually drove the screws that I used a little bit too deep into the plywood. And as I was sliding my hand along using the stapler just to put some Tyvek onto it, I accidentally slid my hand across one of these screws that had poked out. And the pointy part of a screw is a bit like a razor blade. So my burnt hand has now got a cut going entirely across it. I actually think this tiny house is going to become the end of me, because everything's just getting worse and worse as the days go on. And I really am starting to realize that I am running out of time. We've got 24 days, 23 days. I think it's 23 days now. That's just 3 weeks to get this house to a point that I can move in, because I actually am moving in on the 1st of January, which at the moment seems impossible, but I have a feeling that if I just keep going, I'm gonna get there, because I mean, I've got a front door, almost, not quite. It is progress. I have now got 1 skylight in and 3 still to go, but I know pretty much what I have to do. So that means that I'm gonna get even quicker at doing it. I just need to get some nice weather, which, as you can see, I did end up actually getting today, but I was only at the tiny house for an hour. And therefore I thought it probably wasn't the smartest move to try and install a skylight window in 20 minutes, because it's sketchy enough installing it with time. If I've got a time pressure, it's gonna make me rush it even more, and that would probably end in either the skylight breaking or me breaking, because I really do feel like they're not telling the truth when they say the skylights are 76 kilograms. It really feels like they're more like 150 kilograms, honestly. They are unbelievably heavy. Now, as you can see, this is probably one of the most beautiful front doors you will ever see. And something that you might have noticed is how this door was meant to be, because these offcuts were full lengths of plywood, and I did not cut them down to size at all. All I did was rest them on a piece of 4x2 to kind of give me enough gap so that obviously the door can open when I lay the plywood floor. I don't really want to give you any advice with hanging doors when this is what you're seeing, because, well, I wouldn't listen to the advice of someone who is doing a complete and utter bodge job like this. If you don't know what a bodge job is, it's basically when you build something really badly and quickly, but it kind of does the job that you want it to. And that is almost exactly what this front door is. But the one thing that might be helpful to you is when you're installing hinges, just add a couple of screws. Don't put every single screw into the hinge initially, because there might be a chance that you've messed something up, and therefore it's going to take you longer to take out 8 screws instead of 2. I have bought the cheapest T hinges that you can buy, and they are not really cut out to do what I'm using them for. There's a load of different ones you can get, but these are only 30 centimeter hinges. For something that's carrying this amount of weight, you would ideally want a slightly longer hinge, but those were like 20 quid, whereas this was 7 quid. So obviously I bought the cheapest one, and then I considered buying like a proper door handle and installing it, but they were quite expensive, so I just bought a £4 deadbolt and a padlock and went about installing it. Now, how I've installed it is so bad. Don't repeat it. It's weakened a part of the stud wall, but it does exactly what I want it to do. And therefore I'm gonna consider it a win. Now, you might also be thinking, Chris, why have you got a door and then an open window next to it? That doesn't look very secure. Well, eventually there will be a skylight in it. Whenever it is next a perfect blue sky day, I'm going to block out my entire day and install all of the skylights and then get on with the rest of the house, which there is a mountain of work that I need to do, which is kind of a little bit daunting, especially as I've set this insane deadline, but I am sticking to it. There is no way that I'm not going to be able to move into here by the 1st of January. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new. Sign up to my weekly newsletter. This week I sent you a way that found me a project that completely changed my brother and my life. To this day, it is one of the most powerful techniques to finding houses that you can add a ton of value to and find them super quickly and efficiently, and nobody really uses it. So that's in this week's newsletter. So sign up now, don't miss out, and as always, I will see you tomorrow.